Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you an Oath of the Phoenix Paladin build in Baldur's Gate 3. This is a mod made by BlueJoe11, which focuses on flame and sacrificial renewal. You get yourself Flame, Lend Me Thy Aid here, and some other spells similar to the ones that are in Elden Ring. One thing I just want to quickly mention here is if you're using any other mods alongside this here, they may cause some compatibility issues as it does override some things. So there's also another mod that just released on console and they actually aren't compatible together, but we'll be focusing here on the Oath of the Phoenix. So again, you get yourself a fire elemental that'll grow in power with your channel oath here. You also have the Oath of the Phoenix, which is similar to the Oath of Devotion, so a very hard one, easy to break. We also get the Infernal Rejuvenation here. Your oath binds you to the spirit of the divine flame. You're healed for 1d6 whenever you take fire damage. This will increase by our charisma modifier. And speaking of which, I like to have the charisma at 16 roughly here. You can put those points into the constitution. If you like strength, go with strength. My personal preference is I think the dexterity dexadins are pretty good. With that, that means you can use things like Father Alluve, which is a very powerful weapon for paladins to provide a bit of support for their team and also do good damage. So I'm going with 16 charisma and 16 dexterity due to the initiative die in Baldur's Gate 3 being a d4. But if you want to go to strength, that's fine too. Once we hit level 2, we get our Divine Smites, which are going to add additional radiant damage onto our attacks. I'm also using a Flame Blade for this, so you can easily, I have a video on how to get a permanent one, which I think fits thematically very well here. And then we also here get Flame Smite Thine Foes, which will do additional fire and radiant damage, and inflicts Holy Flame. It does use your bonus action, however. For our fighting style, I'd recommend taking the defense here, or great weapon fighting if you want to use a two-hander, like the Everburn Blade. I would recommend grabbing Searing Smite because it just fits thematically. We'll take the other smites here as well, and having either Bless or Shield of Faith here. I like Shield of Faith because it's going to give us a +2 AC until long rest, and I think that just works out pretty nice. And it allows us to have a concentration if we wanted to hold one for a particular reason. Once we get to level 3, we get Flame Bless Me. Call upon the Holy Flame to engulf your spirit for the coming battle, which gives you additional fire damage, equal to your charisma modifier, and it also gives you resistance to fire and radiant damage. And this also gives you access to a fire breath attack, which is pretty nice to have as well. You also get Flame Renew Thine Soul, which does fire and radiant damage. You relieve a wave of energy from your very soul. You heal allies for 2d6 plus your charisma modifier. Bonus action, and use your channel oath charge. You also get Burning Hands and Hellish Rebuke here for a bit of extra fire damage support. And we'll throw on Bless there for our next prepared spell. Once we hit level 4, we get another Lay Hands charge. And for our feat, I would recommend Alert for the +5 to initiative. However, an increase your main attacking stat, strength or dex, or charisma works well too. I just like having Alert early on. Level 5, extra attack, power spike. We also get access to level 2 spells, and we can get ourselves a permanent Flame Blade here, so that is nice. So yeah, that's a good spell to have. And some mods may cause it to use your wisdom for your attack stats, so just a heads up on that. Heat Metal is another nice one, which can give enemies disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks. I like that spell, it's nice to have, but at level 5, we probably have better options. I'd recommend Aid and Branding Smite here. Branding Smite's nice for just a few enemies once we get into Act 2. Level 6, Aura of Protection, plus our charisma modifier to our saving throws to all allies in a 3-meter radius. Not large, but it's nice to have. I guess we can go Cure Wounds. There's not really super... Paladin spells, we got Divine Smite, that's what we want. Level 7, this is our Aura of the Eternal Flame. Whenever this is active, we get advantage on death saving throws. Allies will receive temporary health points equal to 3 plus your charisma modifier, and a foe standing within the aura will take damage at the end of their turn. On successful save, they take half damage. So this gives us a bit of extra fire damage support, which is quite nice to have, and it'll also protect our allies from going down as much if they go into a death save. Level 8, I'd recommend going with, you can go with a Great Weapon Master if you wanted to, or Savage, actually Savage Attacker is probably the best choice here, because especially with the Flame Blade, it has a lot of damage die, which we're re-rolling, and we also re-roll our smites. Pretty crazy damage output. Level 9 gives us access to Fireball, which is fun, and Grand Flight, fitting thematically for a Phoenix. We'll then take Blinding Smite, and Elemental Weapon fits thematically for this. If you're using any other mods that change spells to the 2024, Elemental Weapon does become a bit better. Aura of Courage, cannot be frightened. Cool, level 10. And onto level 11 here, we get our improved Divine Smite, adding 1d8 of radiant damage onto all of our attacks, which is really good. Crusader's Mantle is nice because we can further boost that to ourselves and our team. And level 12 gives us our next feat here. I'll be taking this to level 20 because there is a good level 20 support here. I like dexterity on this, but again, you can go with the charisma increase as well for better spell casting. But if you wanted to use this build at level 12, you can use it as well, but I'll be taking it to 20. Because at level 13, we get Wall of Fire and Fire Shield, and this will also give us level 4 spell slots, which are really nice on the Paladin. if you have Mistress spells installed, you can go with any of the other options there. We're not really using any of these spells here. Divine Smite's our spell slot of choice, and then things like Fireball. At level 15, we get Flame, Grant Me Thy Spirit, which gives you the ability to ignore radiant and fire resistances, and you also will gain it without having to use our other ability there, which is just great. Level 16, another feat. We may as well go with an increase to our charisma for protection on our teammates and better spell casting. Level 17 gives us Divine Flame Strike here, which gives us extra radiant fire, which will ignore resistances, and we also get Mask Cure Wounds. So level 5 spell we normally wouldn't get access to. The problem is level 4 and beyond, like once we hit level 4, that's the max stacking for our spell slots on smites. If you use a level 5 spell slot, it doesn't do extra damage, unfortunately. Level 19 will give us our final feat. I like to always take Tough here for the extra 40 health, 2 per level. Pretty nice if you're going to level 20, otherwise don't take it. And level 20, we get the I Am the Flame, which will do fire damage and radiant damage, unlocking a blast of heat and flames. Dealing fire damage, you gain immunity to those damage types and resistance to cold, necrotic, and physical. Your melee, unarmed, and spells do an extra fire damage. When you fall in battle, you rise up anew, and you'll explode with a ball of fire, fully healing your health, healing your allies for a 48, and dealing a 66 of fire damage or radiant damage to all enemies, and this will last for 10 turns. This use your action, your bonus action. It is quite strong. But if you have the Pyro Quickness hat, you can cast a fire spell and get an extra bonus action, and then you can use that to be able to cast this. Pretty fun synergy there. Our spell selection doesn't really matter. I'd like to have Revivify because it does fit thematically. Now the armor is the Royal Knight armor here by Skirbie. I got the headpiece 07B from Myky's accessories, and the shield is from the More Shields by Badwitch69. So you can go download all those mods. They're incredible. I was thinking about using the Spartan armor by Skirbie as well, but this fits well. And as far as gear from base game, I would recommend the Hat of Fire Acuity. Whenever we deal fire damage, gain 2 stacks of Arcane Acuity so that we can land our fireballs a lot easier. This is a really good item. You can go with the Hat of Arcane Acuity or Helmet of Arcane Acuity for an option that's going to be more so focused on physical damage. Either of these work well. Cloak Protection, really whatever armor you got. Now, we can go with a full defensive and fire damage focused one with the Armor of Agility, giving our full dexterity modifier, Helldusk Gloves to add additional 1d6 of fire damage, and Helldusk Boots so that we can get the Hellcrawler bonus action for a bit of mobility and fire damage. However, I do think the best choice is actually to go all in on our Radiating Orb setup. So that includes using the Luminous Gloves, Luminous Armor, and then we can go with the Helldusk Boots and keep that as consistent because this will make it so we don't get moved by difficult terrain. And also succeed a saving throw. But we can also throw in the Boots of Stormy Clamor here in the early game to apply reverberation to knock enemies prone. So I like to go with that. Now, there's also items like the Callous Glow Ring, which will add additional radiant damage, but we already got that on our melee attacks. It's still not a bad option, but we got 4 rings that work well. The Strange Conduit Ring, adding a 1d4 of psychic damage when we got our Wall of Fire concentration up. The Band of the Mystic Scoundrel, which when you do a melee attack, you can then do an illusion or an enchantment spell as a bonus action, which we got command here, which is great. But alternatively, we can throw on Coruscation Ring whenever we do spell damage. While illuminated, we apply Radiating Orbs. So that can be a nice option as well if you want something a little different. I also have the Amulet of Greater Health for greater survivability on a Phoenix build. It makes sense. Again, Flame Blade, but you can use the, if you don't want to use something like this, you can go with the Infernal Rapier here, or the Knife of the Undermountain King from Act 1. But Flame Blade just fits because we can reroll that 5d6 and it ignores resistances, so it's pretty strong. And then Viconia's Walking Fortress, and also the Hell Rider Longbow, which fits thematically, but a +3 to initiative. Now in combat, we have our Aura of the Eternal Flame there, which will do fire damage, which is nice to enemies that we get nearby. And it also applies in conditions, so if you have the Boots of Stormy Clamor, that will further stack conditions. I Am the Flame is pretty fun though, if you can find a position where you're actually able to hit a lot of targets. That extra fire damage is enough to take that one out, weird. I Am the Flame is cool though, because we can pop this, and then we're going to do fire and radiant damage. It's got this cool attack, exploding, taking out all the enemies in this area and also lighting them afire, knocking them prone. And then for 10 turns, we get a big boost to our overall attacks. And we use them for bonus actions, so we can't use the Flame Smite the Dying Foes, which would be really powerful. But since we still got a full action, we can drop down Wall of Fire, which is an insanely powerful spell if you can get it in a good position like this. If we had the Helldusk Armor on, it wouldn't even affect us. But it's a good one to just set up in a large area like that. And since we're immune to fire and radiant damage, we can walk in it too, so it gives us some more benefits. And don't forget to have your aura protection up too. And an unintended side effect is that we can actually, I guess we have the Infernal Resistance here, but whenever enemies do attacks, the firewall can actually end up breaking their concentration really easily, which is nice. I'll use the Flame Smite Dying Foes here because it is pretty strong. If there's targets in around the area, it's kind of good too. You can also use an upcasted version to do more damage with it too if you wanted to, which will make it to an additional 1d8 of each damage type. pretty strong, but yeah, you're likely going to be one-shotting with that. Yeah, you saw that there. We also have another attack that we can go ahead with, and I'd actually recommend going with a Divine Smite against this target right here, since we still have that extra attack action, so we can go ahead and bonk. And then for our final attack, we still have one action left. I have haste on my character. Fireball, never a bad idea, especially when there's a group of enemies together like this, and we can avoid hitting our teammates and potentially take out 3 in 1, just like that. Pretty good stuff. And Hellish Rebuke's actually kind of nice, because you can actually sometimes do good damage with it. Not often, but it's sometimes, yeah, 27 damage in Radiating Orbs for 2 stacks is pretty solid stuff, if I do say so myself. And I can't make it to the back line, but I can sling spells like Flame Strike here, which will do that radiant damage to apply Radiating Orbs on the enemy there. And it was enough to take out that target just like that. We also get access to like Fireball too, so that's another spell that can be pretty good for just large area of effect damage if we have no real other options at range. I got counterspelled, of course. I guess I use the Flame Bless Me though. This will add additional fire damage onto our attack, which is kind of nice. So 22 turns remain, get additional fire damage equal to the Charisma modifier on our attack. So yeah, it adds a little extra. And we look really cool being covered in fire like this here with that Barbarian type animation. So yeah, we have heat on us and we're taking fire damage, but we're immune to it. So no worries there. Now, I guess an issue here is we have limited range to get far away targets. It's kind of always a Paladin issue. So we'll Divine Smite those that are close to us. That's a crazy amount of damage. So we hit for 59, 20, 27, and 5. And more guards appeared in this perfect situation here for a Flame Strike. We can just drop it straight here. That radiant damage is going to apply the Radiating Orbs. And if it doesn't take them out, which it did, it would have put 10 stacks of Radiating Orbs on everyone that survived because of the way that the Luminous Armor works on targets in close range. So I still have an extra attack here from that Smite that I did on first. Critical miss, but that's no worry. With the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel, we can use a Command Approach. And why I like Command Approach, we got a Wall of Fire set up there, so we can sometimes finish them off on their turn as they take damage from it. He took the long way as a silly goose there. But yeah, that's a really powerful spell, and then we can follow that up. I'm not able to actually touch him here, so I'm just going to drop a Fireball, but this is the ultimate Fire Paladin. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you enjoyed, and we'll catch you all in the next video. Oh yeah, it's really easy to break your oath.